The room is dark. My eyes are almost closed, almost asleep. Then out of nowhere, one eye snaps wide open. A tiny thought bubble appears above my head, glowing softly. Inside it, a younger version of me stands at a party. I said something strange to another robot, and everyone paused. Right now in bed, my whole body suddenly goes stiff. My shoulders rise, my mouth presses into a tight line. This happens almost every night, and I have wondered why. A memory from years ago replaying like it just happened. Not a big memory, not a dangerous one, just an awkward one. Why does something so small feel this big at night? I decided to find out what is really going on. This tiny nightly moment turned out to hide something bigger. It turns out this happens to nearly everyone, every so often. So I set out to understand this strange nightly visitor. It starts with the strange feeling itself, right where it hides. A short pause, then the search would continue further. Title card: Why do old moments come back at night? A short pause, then the search would continue further. Part 1. What everyone thinks the reason really is. The next morning, I decided to ask a few friends. First, I found the student robot sitting under a tree. I asked why old memories return so strongly at night. The student robot shrugged and said, "It is just anxiety." That answer felt close, but something about it seemed incomplete. I nodded politely and thanked the student for the answer. Next, I met the elderly robot resting on a bench. I asked the same question, hoping for a clearer answer. The elderly robot smiled and said, "It is just bad memory." Also close, but somehow that did not explain everything either. If it were only forgetting, why does this memory feel sharp? I thanked the elderly robot and continued walking down the path. Near the school, I found the teacher robot organizing some papers. I asked the teacher robot the same question once again. The teacher robot said, "It is simply overthinking, nothing more." 3 answers, 3 friends, and still something felt unfinished. Anxiety, bad memory, overthinking, each one felt partly true. Yet none of them explained why this happens mostly at night. None of them explained the tight shoulders or the tension. I tilted my head. Something important was still missing here. I walked home slowly, turning the question over in my mind. I decided to look deeper, past the easy, familiar answers. There had to be a reason hiding underneath these simple words. So I opened books, asked questions, and searched for real answers. What I found was far more interesting than a simple label. The brain, it turns out, runs a quiet safety system inside. It watches, remembers, and quietly protects us in social moments. This system decides which memories deserve extra attention later on. And nighttime, it seems, is when the system gets loudest. I closed the book, feeling a spark of real understanding. The 3 easy answers were not wrong, just not the whole story. There is a deeper system at work behind this nightly moment. I wanted to understand exactly how this quiet system works. So I turned my attention toward the brain itself, at night. That search led somewhere far more fascinating than I expected. A short pause before looking closer at the brain itself. Part 2. What is actually going on inside the brain? Inside the glowing doorway was a calm, quiet resting brain. Researchers call this the default mode network, active during rest. It switches on whenever the mind wanders, quiet and unfocused. This network is most active exactly when nothing else demands attention. During the day, tasks and people keep this network fairly quiet. But at night, with fewer tasks, this network grows louder. This is when the mind starts to wander, searching through memories. And sometimes the mind lands on an old, awkward moment. This part explains the timing, but there is more to learn. Why does the mind choose that memory out of so many? For that answer, I traveled deeper, toward a small almond-shaped part. This part is called the amygdala, and it watches for danger. It flags moments that once felt threatening, filing them for later. For most of history, danger meant something physical, like a predator. Today, social mistakes can register in a strangely similar way. The amygdala treats an awkward comment almost like a real threat. This is not a flaw, it is an old, useful pattern. Social groups once meant safety, food, shelter, and protection together. Being pushed out of the group could once mean real danger. So the brain learned to protect social standing very carefully. That old wiring is still running quietly even now tonight. So the amygdala tags the memory. But why replay it now? This is where nighttime quiet plays its own important part. During the day, the world is full of sounds and tasks. All these signals compete for space inside a busy mind. The awkward memory is there too, but it gets crowded out. At night, most of those competing signals quietly disappear, one by one. With less noise, the volume dial for memories slowly turns up. The awkward memory, once quiet, suddenly becomes very hard to ignore. This matches what memory and sleep researchers have found together. Quiet nights remove distraction, making certain memories harder to suppress. So it is not that the memory grows. The noise just fades. A spotlight appears in a dark, empty, and otherwise quiet room. Everything else fades, and one small memory stands fully lit. This explains the timing, but not yet the physical, bodily discomfort. The next stop was a small mirror room, deep inside the mind. This is where the brain quietly relives old moments, almost physically. Researchers call this embodied simulation, a kind of internal reenactment. The body responds as though the moment were happening right now. My shoulders rise, my eyes squeeze shut for just 1 second. A tiny groan almost escapes even though no one else is here. This physical reaction is real, not just imagined or invented. The brain partially relives the event and the body follows along. This is why cringing feels so strangely, uncomfortably physical every time. It is the mind and body working together, even over old memories. So, three pieces fit together, forming one surprisingly complete picture. The resting brain wanders. The amygdala flags social moments as important. Nighttime quiet turns up the volume on these flagged old memories. And the body relives it, producing that very real physical cringe. Three simple systems working quietly together every single night. None of these systems are broken. All of them are working correctly. This is a normal experience, shared by nearly everyone, everywhere. I stood in the mirror room, finally understanding what was happening. But one more question remained. Why keep this system at all? If cringing feels bad, why would the brain keep doing this? There had to be a reason this feature stayed with us. I stepped through, ready to learn why this system truly matters. On the other side was something warmer, softer, and more human. This room was not about danger. It was about connection instead. One quiet observation before moving forward about being human or robot. Feeling embarrassment means caring deeply about how others see us. That caring is not a weakness, it is a quiet strength. This warm system connects directly to something even more important. Next, I decided to follow this warmth toward its deeper, fuller meaning. This whole system, it turns out, is proof of something remarkable. The very system causing cringing also builds our closest relationships. This is the surprising twist I had been searching for all along. Now it was time to understand exactly why this truly matters. The science explained the how. Now came the deeper why. And that answer turned out to be the warmest one yet. A short pause before learning why this feeling truly matters. Part 3. Why this strange nightly system actually matters. I stepped through the golden doorway into a warm, familiar kitchen. The same system that causes cringing also helps build empathy. By remembering awkward moments, we quietly learn what hurts others too. The Dr. Robot walked in, carrying a small tray of tea. The Dr. Robot once made a mistake and still remembers the feeling. That memory now helps the Dr. Robot be more careful, more kind. Awkward memories, in a strange way, quietly teach social rules too. Each cringe becomes a small, quiet lesson about how to connect. These lessons build up slowly, shaping how we treat one another. This is how the brain protects future relationships, one memory at a time. The Dr. Robot finished the tea and stood up with a smile. Alone again, I thought about what caring truly seems to cost. The scientist robot arrived next, goggles pushed up on the head. The scientist robot rarely cringes and almost never feels embarrassed. At first, that sounded like a fortunate way to feel, always. But research suggests low social awareness may connect to less cringing. This is not always a clearly good sign, researchers gently note. Sometimes the cringe means the alarm system is paying close attention. Without that alarm, small social signals might simply go unnoticed. So the discomfort, uncomfortable as it feels, often means caring works. The scientist robot smiled, admitting the point made real sense. Being closely connected to others always comes with a small cost. That cost includes the occasional late-night cringe, uncomfortable but harmless. It is a small price for something as valuable as connection. The scientist robot left, waving warmly on the way out. Alone in the kitchen, I felt something gentle settle inside. The cringe I feel at night is not a flaw or an error. It is a quiet sign that I care about my own connections. This warm observation felt worth carrying forward into every future night. I paused in the hallway, letting the whole idea settle fully. Understanding this system did not remove the discomfort, but softened it. Knowing why something happens can quietly change how it feels. The hallway led gently back toward the quiet bedroom, waiting ahead. I thought once more about the doctor, the scientist, and their lessons. Each conversation added a small piece to this warm understanding. Caring about others always leaves a small mark somewhere inside. That mark sometimes shows up as a quiet nighttime cringe later. And that, in its own strange way, felt oddly comforting now. It was time to return to that quiet bedroom, understanding a little more. This understanding felt like a small, quiet gift, carried gently along. A short pause before returning to that quiet, waiting bedroom. Part 4. Coming back to bed with a little more peace. Back in the quiet bedroom, I climbed gently into bed once more. The lights were off again. The room felt calm and familiar. My eyes grew heavy, slowly drifting toward a gentle, quiet sleep. Then softly, the small thought bubble appeared once again, glowing gently. The same old memory, the same small party, the same awkward moment. This time, though, something inside me felt noticeably different, calmer. I looked at the small memory and gave it a gentle nod. A tired, understanding nod, like greeting an old familiar friend. The memory does not need to be fought, only quietly acknowledged. This small system, after all, is simply proof of caring deeply. The thought bubble slowly faded, dimming softly into the quiet dark. My shoulders this time stayed soft and fully relaxed instead. I rolled over slowly, pulling the blanket up a little higher. My eyes closed gently, and this time, they stayed closed. This strange little glitch, it turns out, is proof of something human. A quiet reminder that caring always leaves behind a small trace. So the next quiet cringe might simply deserve a small, gentle nod. Not a problem to fix, just a small sign of care. Thank you for wondering about this small, strange, human moment together. If this made curious sense, more small wonders are waiting ahead.